Welcome to XConnect the show. My name is Kareem Kanji, co-founder of Third Ocean and your show host for today. XConnect, for those of you who are joining us, is designed to explore how the relationship between a specific industry has been and is being affected by technology and social media. If you want to watch past and future episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/XConnectTV. Thank you to Big Time Design and Communications for all their design and web work, and of course to Shadowing Chung, who is our awesome producer. If you want to be an XConnect supporter, please send us an email at xconnect@thirdocean.com. Very excited for EduConnect, April 27th to June the 11th. XConnect is taking on an education sector with our EduConnect series. We're going to be profiling and interviewing various industry insiders and professionals within the education and technology space. If you want to attend our EduConnect panel on May the 30th, please check out educonnect.eventbrite.com and go to xconnect.to.com for all articles, shows, and more information. Very excited by today's guest. Please welcome to the studio, Maria Moriarty. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Now you are your LinkedIn profile says that you are the Information Resource Officer
Yes,
at
that's
AlphaPlus. And yes, you're the officer. So what exactly does a Information Resource Officer do at AlphaPlus?
Oh my goodness, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
First of all, let me tell you a little bit about AlphaPlus.
Please, yes.
We're an adult literacy support organization in Ontario, and what we do is support adult literacy programs, of which there are about 300 across the province, some in community, some in school boards, and some in colleges. And we work with those programs and the practitioners who work in them. And our overall goal is to support programs to integrate and use digital technologies for teaching and learning. And what I do is a bit of everything, a bit of research, a bit of information dissemination. I'm our blogger.
Okay.
And
would you consider yourself a mommy blogger?
I'm more of an old lady. And I sort of got into the whole digital technology side of it out of my library background, when libraries started to flip and started to become more sort of e-repositories. We used to have a print library, and then we had to let that one go. And so we had to reinvent ourselves as an organization that was still in the information dissemination business, the educational support business, but in a virtual space rather than in a physical space. So that's what I do. I answer questions, I push out information, I try to get people excited about using digital technology to teach and to learn. And I pretty much play with technology all day.
Nice. That's a good job to have if you get to play.
It's a great job. It's a great job.
Now, when I was doing a little bit of research prior to the show, it struck me that AlphaPlus came out of the Toronto Public Library. And so is that when you joined? Were you part of that?
I don't know how old you are, but I've probably been in business since before you were around. I started out at what used to be the Metro Toronto Reference Library.
Okay.
Working for this organization when it was part of that library, and then we became an independent nonprofit in the mid-90s. And so I've been with them since.
Nice. Well, let me ask you a
last
question.
century.
Now it says here AlphaPlus was created in 1998.
Yeah.
So thank you for telling me that it's been around longer than that.
It has. It was
so
just that it had another name. And you know the way these things happen.
I'm a big supporter of the library, so I want to ask you this question. What role today do you think the Toronto Public Library plays with all this technology that's going around, being able to, read books on your iPad or your e-reader? I used to go and rent movies from there, but now you've got things like Netflix. So is the library of today different than what it was before? What role does it play today?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of its primary role, which is a place to go and get materials to entertain yourself or to learn, it's not different. But libraries, and the Toronto Public Library has been a real leader in this. They have created, they are among the last public spaces that we have in our communities where you can just walk in and learn and sit and read and whatever. But the Toronto Public Library has been really forward-looking in the way it has embraced technology. If you go into any branch of the Toronto Public Library, I mean, you'll see print material still, but you'll also see banks of computers giving people free access to digital technologies, to the internet, 6 days a week. It's a pretty amazing phenomenon.
Free Wi-Fi in all
Free
the branches.
Wi-Fi. If you go to the Toronto Reference Library, which is one of the very few free public reference libraries in the world, you see an amazing array of technology at the disposal of all of the patrons who come in. Now, some of this has been made available with help from various levels of government through the Community Access Program. That program, unfortunately, has been defunded now. But that was the seed that started these little hubs where people can use it. So libraries have become, I think, a tremendously important community space. I see in my local public library students doing homework there, people reading newspapers from around the world, which they can do online. Tutors and adult literacy students often meet in library spaces, and the Toronto Public Library runs a literacy program across the city. So there are spaces where lots of learning goes on, lots of sharing goes on. And the library is this incredible resource in our communities still.
Interesting. And I hope it stays that way.
Long may it last.
Yes.
We're actually very lucky in Ontario. I think we have had a very long tradition of support for public libraries. And I mean, everybody remembers last year was all kinds of fun with Margaret Atwood and the mayor and everything.
Yes.
But I think fundamentally, it's one of those institutions in Ontario that we take for granted. I hope we value it. I hope we value it, and that's why we take it for granted. Because
it seems
we
that
wouldn't
that's
want to
always
lose
been
it.
there.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit about AlphaPlus. It's only recent that the focus has been on empowering adult teachers and adult learners to use digital technology, or how to use digital technology to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've sharpened our focus. We've been at it for a while. Going back quite a long time ago, we started something which still keeps going, which is an amazing resource called the AlphaPlus Web Index, where we go out onto the web, we find online learning activities and all kinds of materials that would be helpful to adult literacy instructors and students, and we index them and we describe them so they're completely searchable in this index. And that long predates Google. We probably should get some credit for what we were doing. So we've been in the business for quite a long time, but I think our focus has really sharpened over the last few years as we began to understand more about the possibilities that digital technology afforded teachers and adult students, and also as technologies became ubiquitous. And so we began to think very carefully about the way our world was changing. Well, if our world is changing, then our learning environments are changing, and the needs that people bring into learning environments are changing. And so, when was it? About 4 or 5 years ago, our strategic direction sharpened to really focus on digital technology as a tool to support teaching and learning.
So not this is how you use Google, but this, here are the various tools, and here's how we're going to better learn.
I mean, I think that we like to think about it as, what is it that you want to do? Then let's try to find the appropriate tool or application or program that will help you solve that. Rather than saying, okay, you have to have a bunch of computer skills before you can begin to use technologies to learn, because we don't believe that, and I think there's a developing body of evidence that shows that's not quite how it works. So we really want to start from the point of view of what is it that you want to do. Let's find the technology that will help you to do it.
Interesting. You talked about possibilities,
Yeah.
both teaching possibilities and learning possibilities.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you've got any anecdotal stories or things that you've seen.
Boy, do I have stories.
I'd love to hear some.
And not just about digital. Yes, there's all kinds of amazing, wonderful things happening out there in the world of literacy. As I said, there are 300 programs. They're all different. They
Mhm.
serve the needs of different people in different communities, different regions. But I think the adult literacy field in Ontario has really embraced technology. And last year, we had the privilege of working with some programs in the Greater Toronto area to learn from the practitioners and students exactly how they were using digital technology. And that was an amazing experience. People are using digital storytelling as a vehicle for teaching and learning. People are using blogs, they're using wikis, they're using Facebook.
Mhm.
They're just exploring and experimenting. And the great thing about adult literacy, the principle of adult literacy, is that it's driven by the student. It's not that you have a set curriculum
Okay.
that you run people through. You
Mhm.
have guidelines, you have a framework, certain number of competencies that you want people to work on. But really, it's almost an emergent curriculum in each program. You're deciding with the student what their learning goal is. Together, you're developing a training or a learning path. And then you're drawing in the resources that are going to support that student to achieve the various milestones along that path. And so digital technology doesn't sort of come in direct conflict, if you know what I mean. It's
Sure.
another enabler. Now, the other very, very positive thing in Ontario is that going way back into the late 80s, the Ontario government embraced the idea of computer technology as a possible tool to support learning. So programs they're not fabulously well equipped, but they're relatively well equipped. And they've had lots of exposure to hardware and software over the years. In some provinces that hasn't been the case, but in Ontario I think we've been quite forward-looking. So programs are ready. Students come into programs, they're using cell phones, they're on Facebook, they're using smartphones.
Yeah.
So naturally, you want to work with students in adult literacy starting from where they're at.
Mm.
So if people are coming in with skills and knowledge, you want to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
And these are adults, these are grown-ups. These are people with full, rich lives. They work, they have kids, they pay their bills, they're busy. You're not going to go back and try to replicate a grade school experience
Sure.
for people. That's not how people learn. So you're developing your programming based on what your students say they need,
Mhm.
based on available technology, available resources.
Mhm.
So that's what's happening in adult literacy. Lots of exciting stuff. I don't think and one of the things that we do is introduce people to tools as they come online, especially Web 2 tools. You know, there's like every day, like a whole bunch.
Sure.
And we sort of try to let people know about various tools. I'll give you one, for example, is Blogster, the one where you can make posters. And we
Okay.
introduced people to that tool, and it just took off because people just loved it.
Yeah.
It's easy to use, it's intuitive, it's visual, you
Mhm.
get a fabulous product at the end, and in the course of using it, all kinds of literacy learning is happening.
Mhm.
So we introduce people to tools, and they take them up, they use them with students. And I think the results are very, very positive. And also, I think, just as you and I in our daily lives encounter technology everywhere, in our work, at home, wherever we go, so do adults in adult literacy programs.
Yeah.
So we can't ignore it. We can't say, well, first we'll do this and then we'll do that. It doesn't work that way.
Interesting. There's, I have a 6-year-old myself, and you hear other parents or teachers or academics talk about that it's not healthy for children that age to, play with a tablet, or whether it's games or watching, cartoon, videos on YouTube. I'm curious what your thoughts are. with adults the same way, you're sitting well, I guess it's different for different people, but the opportunity to sit in front of technology, in front of screens throughout the day, and then learning again in the evening or on weekends with these same sort of tools. I'd love your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I think it's never it's never an either or, right? It's always about some kind of balance. But if you think about, I mean, I met a practitioner last year who was a very strong believer and had done a lot of research on visual literacy. And there's now a lot of research going on about how we take in information in the world. Well, the primary way, if we're sighted people, of course, is through our eyes.
Sure.
And then we do all kinds of amazing processing. So for some people, for a lot of people, they are visual learners. They need to see it in some way. So a screen, I mean, we don't understand a lot about how our brain processes this information. We're just beginning to understand it. But we do know that something good happens. And we do know that digital technologies offer opportunities to adults to learn anytime, anywhere, at their own pace, in their own time. Adults who otherwise may not have the time, the opportunity to learn. And also, it seems to always, to me, a little bit moralistic to say, well, I don't think it's a good idea. Well, based on what? People didn't think television was a good idea, I mean, when I was a kid, like, oh, television, restrict half an hour a day, it's very bad for you. Well, maybe too much of it was bad for me. Sure. But I just don't think that it's an either or. And I think that really, if we want to learn more about how this is working, we should really be pushing for more research, for more understanding of how we process information, for more understanding about how adults learn and why they learn, rather than saying, well, there's a good way to learn, the way we learned in the 19th century. That was good, and it's better for your eyes, so let's keep doing it that way. I'm not sure that that's true.
One of the things with all these technologies and social media is the whole concept of collaboration. And I remember in school, it was only later on as I was graduating and finishing that this whole concept of working in groups came out. And I don't know if it's still there. It's been a while since I was in school myself. But is there a focus on collaboration?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a focus on project-based learning. So when people are engaged in project-based learning, generally they're working in groups. And just as we work in my workplace, we often work in groups because not one person can't know everything, and people have different skills and different levels of knowledge and understanding. When you put it all together, you get a much richer outcome. So yes, there's a lot of group work that goes on. When I was a kid, it was called cheating, but now it's called collaboration. And people do learn from each other. And I've been in literacy programs where you see a tremendous amount of peer-to-peer learning. Like if I'm stuck and I have a problem at work, I'll just ask the person in the next office, or I'll ask my son or my husband or whatever. And that's how we learn as adults. We don't, know everything. So you see a lot of that, and I've seen it happening in literacy programs. Tremendous exchange of knowledge, sharing of knowledge, supporting each other, figuring stuff out together. So that's going on a lot, and digital technology allows that to happen, not just in the classroom, but anywhere.
Oh, in real life, absolutely. It just seemed that back in the day, it was frowned upon at once.
Well, I think that people thought that you had to develop your, by yourself, and you couldn't copy or anything. I mean, but I mean, we're in a different place in the world right now.
That's true. We're near the end of this chat that we're having.
Okay.
But I'd like to know one thing. I'd like to know. We all hear about Facebook and Twitter. All of the usual suspects. But are there a couple of tools that are heavily used and are very popular when it comes to digital technology and adult literacy that we might not hear about in the everyday media?
I think, I don't remember, I think there's like 14 million Canadians on Facebook. So I imagine a significant number of those are adult literacy students and practitioners. I have trouble believing that that's not the case. I think people use blogs a lot in
Okay.
classes as places for people to write and share. I think people use wikis a lot as a way to connect with each other, to work, when they're not in a program. I think, I'm thinking about one thing in particular which I had, just thought of as I was getting ready for this conversation. A program out in Halton developed this game called Summer in Smalleywood.
Summer in
Smalleywood.
Okay.
And it's a game designed for adult literacy students. And it's a sort of, it's a story game, like you're in an amusement park working there, and you're actually working on particular skills as you work your way through the game. So it seems to offer, a way to think about, well, do we really need to just use textbooks? Could we use some level of gamification? Because people are playing a lot of games, and there's a body of research now, mostly looking at younger adults and teenagers, but there's a developing body of evidence that when people are playing games, yes, to some degree they may be wasting their time, especially if they're spending 12 hours a day on it, but learning is happening. So what if you could embed things that people want to learn right into those environments?
Yeah.
And so people would be doing skill building and skill development while they're doing this. So there are those kinds of things that we're beginning to think about as well.
And that's a whole different thing, going
Yeah.
into gamification.
Yeah, but that's really what I want to say. It's like, there's no, like, oh, this is what we do and this is what happens. We don't know enough, but we know that we try a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we also do know that a combination of face-to-face learning
Sure.
and learning online seems to get the best results for adults. It seems to lead to real learning gains, and people really do retain what they learn and are more fully engaged in their own learning. So that seems really positive to me.
Fantastic. From the days when I wasn't allowed to bring in a calculator,
Now it's a BYOD universe.
now you're bringing in your
Bring your own
MacBooks
device.
and your iPads and everything like that. Maria, thank you so much
Thank you.
for
That was
joining
fun.
us.
Thanks.
Had a good conversation. Hope you did too. We look forward to seeing everybody at EduConnect on May the 30th. Again, go to educonnect.eventbrite.com and xconnectto.com to follow everything that we're doing. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.